The dust market was always loud, busy, and full of strange smells. Traders shouted prices, machines hummed, and alien creatures moved between the stalls. The dry wind blew sand across the ground, making every step feel heavy. In the middle of all this noise walked a human man named Jace. He kept his head low, trying not to draw attention. Humans were rare on this planet, and most aliens did not trust them. Jace only came to buy a few things and leave quickly. But fate had another plan. While he was looking at a tray of fruit, a sudden scream broke through the market noise. People turned. A group of alien thugs pushed through the crowd, armored, angry, and shouting. They were looking for someone. Their leader, a large creature with sharp eyes and metal plates on his arms, roared at the vendors. "Move! Where is the child?" Instant fear spread. Stalls shook as frightened aliens ran. Merchants grabbed their goods and hid. Everyone knew this group dangerous, violent, and cruel. No one wanted to get involved. Jace stepped back, confused. He had no idea what was happening, but the fear around him was real. He thought of leaving quickly, slipping away before trouble reached him. But then he saw something that froze him in place. A tiny alien child stood in the open path, alone, crying, too scared to move. The thugs spotted the child at the same moment. Their leader pointed. "There! Grab it!" The crowd gasped and pulled farther away. No one stepped forward. No one helped. Everyone feared the gang too much. The child looked around, hoping someone would save him, but every face turned away, except one. Jace's body moved before his mind did. He dropped his bag and ran toward the child. The leader saw him and laughed. "A human? Out of the way, weakling." But Jace didn't stop. He reached the child just as the first thug swung a heavy metal staff downward. Without thinking, Jace wrapped his arms around the child and turned his back to the attack. The staff slammed into him with full force. Loud crack echoed. Pain shot through his spine. His knees almost collapsed. The blow was strong enough to crush bone, but somehow he stayed on his feet, shielding the child with his body. The crowd gasped. No alien had ever seen a human do something like this. The thugs stared in disbelief. Did he just block that? One muttered. The leader snarled. Hit him again. Another strike came. Jace tightened his grip around the child and took the hit on his shoulder. Blood ran down his back. The child cried, shaking, but Jace whispered softly, "It's okay. I won't let them hurt you." His voice was weak but steady. Then a scream cut through the market. A woman and alien mother ran toward them, her eyes wide with terror. She had been searching for her missing child, but now she saw something she never expected. A human, covered in blood, protecting her son with his own body. "No!" She cried, "Stop! Leave him!" But the thugs didn't care. The leader raised his staff again, aiming to kill this strange, stubborn human. Before the blow could land, the mother threw herself in front of Jace, her arms spread wide. Her voice shook with rage. "If you touch him again, I swear I will tear you apart." The thugs hesitated. No one had ever seen her like this. She was usually quiet, gentle, afraid. But now her eyes burned like fire. Jace fell to his knees, finally losing strength. The child held onto him, refusing to let go. Dust swirled around them as the market fell into total silence. And then something even more shocking happened. The mother knelt beside Jace, placed her shaking hands on his wounded back and whispered, "Why would you do this? Why would a human save my child?" Jace tried to speak, but only managed a low breath. Because he needed help. Her eyes widened. No alien had ever heard such simple courage from a human. Around them, the crowd began to whisper. Some watched with fear, some with awe. But one thing became clear to everyone. This human was different. The mother wrapped her arms around both Jace and her child. holding them together as if they were her own family. She looked at the thugs with deadly warning. "He saved my child," she said. "If any of you touch him again, you will answer to me." The gang backed away slowly. And in that moment, the dust market witnessed something it had never seen: an alien mother clinging to a human hero, refusing to let him fall. The dust market slowly returned to noise, but nothing felt normal anymore. The crowd kept whispering as Jace lay on the ground, barely conscious. Blood soaked the back of his shirt. His breathing was slow, uneven. The child stayed close to him, gripping his arm tightly, refusing to move even when other aliens tried to pull him away. The mother, Lyra, touched her son's head and then looked at Jace with wide, shaking eyes. She had never seen a human up close, and certainly not one who would risk his life for an alien child. When Jace tried to sit up, pain shot through his ribs. He winced, and his vision blurred. Lyra instantly knelt beside him. "Don't move," she whispered, her voice full of fear. "You're hurt." Jace forced a weak smile. "Is the boy okay?" Lyra stared at him, shocked. He was bleeding, trembling, maybe dying, and he still cared about her child first. "He is safe because of you," she answered softly, her voice breaking. "You protected him when no one else did." Jace lowered his eyes. "Anyone would." Lyra shook her head. "No, not anyone. They all ran. But you stayed." She looked around the market with anger. The same people who turned their faces away now pretended they never saw anything. No one offered help. No one even stepped toward the injured human. Lyra's jaw tightened. If she left him here, he would die. And she knew it. Decision made, she grabbed his arm gently. "Come," she said. "You are coming with me." Jace blinked. "I can." "Walk." He tried, but his legs shook and he fell forward. Lyra caught him with surprising strength for her slim size. Her child, Rin, rushed to help, pushing against Jace's side to support him. Together, the mother and child lifted him slowly. The crowd stepped aside, watching in silence. Some whispered, "Why is she helping a human? It's dangerous. He'll bring trouble." But Lyra ignored every voice. Her home was far, and Jace stumbled many times. Each time he fell, she pulled him back up. Each time he groaned from pain, she whispered, "Just a little more. Don't give up. My home is close." Rin walked beside him, holding his hand tightly. The child kept glancing up at him with wide, grateful eyes. Jace felt the small fingers squeezing his own, giving him strength to keep moving. Finally, they reached a small clay house on the edge of the village. The doors slid open with a soft hum. Lyra guided Jace inside and laid him on a low bed. The room was simple, soft lights, clay shelves, and blankets made of colorful threads. It smelled of herbs and warmth. Jace tried to sit again. "Thank you, but I shouldn't stay long. People won't like it." Lyra placed a hand firmly on his chest, pushing him back onto the bed. "You almost died for my child. I will not let you walk out now." Her voice was calm but unshakable. She brought a bowl of water and clean cloths. Rin sat beside Jace, holding a small lantern like a guardian. Jace looked at them both, confused. He wasn't used to kindness. He wasn't used to anyone caring if he lived or died. Lyra cleaned the wounds on his back, her hands careful and gentle. The pain made Jace grit his teeth, but he stayed quiet. She noticed. "Does it hurt?" she asked softly. He nodded once. "You didn't even scream when they hit you," she whispered. "Why?" Jace looked at the ceiling. "Because the child was scared enough." That answer made Lyra stop moving for a moment. Her eyes filled with emotion she tried hard to hide. Hours passed as Lyra worked. She wrapped bandages around his ribs, covered bruises, and made him drink warm herbal tea. Jace slowly felt strength returning. But every time he attempted to get up, Lyra stood in front of him, arms crossed. "You are not leaving," she repeated. "If you step outside now, they will come back for you." Jace sighed. "I don't want trouble to reach your home." Lyra leaned closer, her eyes sharp. "That trouble came because of my child. You protected him. Now I protect you." Rin nodded fiercely. "You stay. You stay here." Jace looked between them, this mother and her brave little child. He felt something he hadn't felt in a long time, acceptance. But fear still sat heavily in his chest. "You don't even know me," he said quietly. Lyra replied without hesitation. "I know your actions." "That is enough." Outside, the sun set, and shadows spread across the village. Strange figures could be seen near the streets, watching the house, waiting. The thugs hadn't forgotten Dot inside the small home. Lyra sat beside Jace and whispered, almost like a vow, "As long as you are under my roof, I won't let you leave. And I won't let anything happen to you." Her voice was soft, but her promise was strong. And Jace, exhausted and overwhelmed, closed his eyes not out of fear this time, but because he finally felt safe. Jace woke the next morning to the soft sound of someone moving quietly around the room. His back still hurt, his ribs still ached, but the warmth of the blankets and the smell of herbal steam made him feel safe for the first time in years. When he opened his eyes, he saw Rin sitting on the floor, drawing shapes in the sand with a small stick. The child glanced up, eyes bright. "You awake?" Rin whispered excitedly. "Mama say you need food." Jace smiled weakly. "I don't want to trouble her." Rin shook his head fast. "No trouble. You saved me. Mama says you stay." Before Jace could respond, the door slid open, and Lyra stepped inside with a bowl of warm soup. Her face softened when she saw him awake. "Good," she said. "You need strength. Eat slowly." Jace sat up with effort. Lyra supported his back without being asked, placing a pillow behind him. He felt strange no one had cared for him like this in years. He murmured, "Thank you." But she shook her head. "Don't thank me. You earned this." He took a small sip of the soup. It tasted strange but comforting. Rin sat right beside him, watching him eat like it was the most important thing in the world. For a moment, the small home felt peaceful, but outside, the storm was already forming. The village council had called an emergency meeting. Word of the human's bravery and his survival had spread quickly. Elder Torvak, the strictest among them, slammed his staff on the ground. "That human interfered," he growled. "He involved himself in an internal matter. This will bring danger to all of us." Another elder nodded. "Humans cannot be trusted. They always want something in return." Someone else added, "Lyra should never have taken him into her home. The human must be removed." While they argued, a shadow shifted at the edge of the room. It was the leader of the thugs, the one Jace had stood against. He had bruises from yesterday's fight, but wore a cruel smile. "If the human stays in this village," he declared, "my men will return. And this time, we won't leave until we get what we came for." Fear filled the room. Some looked down. Some trembled. No one wanted another attack. So they made their decision. The human had to go dot at Lyra's house. Jace tried standing again. His body protested every movement. Lyra gently pushed him back onto the bed. "Why won't you rest?" she asked. "I need to leave," Jace said. "Your people will be angry." Lyra looked away. She knew the council's reaction would be harsh, but she refused to show fear. "Let them be angry," she whispered. "You saved my child. That means I protect you now." Suddenly, a loud knock shook the door. Lyra stiffened. Rin grabbed Jace's hand. The door slid open without permission, and 2 council members stepped inside. Their expressions were cold. "Lyra," Elder Torvak said, "we must talk." Lyra stood in front of Jace automatically, blocking him from view. "What do you want?" "The human cannot stay here," the elder said. "He brought danger to the market. The gang is angry. They will return. If you keep him, it puts the entire village at risk." Jace tried to stand to speak for himself, but Lyra held out her arm, stopping him. Torvak continued, "If he does not leave by sunset today, we will take your child for safety." Those words hit Lyra like a blade. Rin gasped and hid behind her. Jace froze, Lyra's voice lowered into a dangerous tone. "You dare threaten my child?" "It is for the village's protection," Torvak said sternly. "No," Lyra snapped. "It is cowardice. You let a human bleed in the street yesterday, and now you blame him for your shame." The elders stiffened in shock. Lyra had never spoken to them like this. Torvak pointed a finger at Jace. "He must leave." Lyra stepped forward. "He is under my roof, and I decide who stays." "This is final," Torvak warned. "If he remains, you face punishment." The elders turned and left, their footsteps echoing angrily. When the door closed, Jace slowly stood. "Lyra, I can't let them take your child because of me." Lyra turned on him with fierce eyes. "You think I will let you walk into danger alone? After you saved my son?" "Never." Jace looked down, troubled. He had always survived alone. He never expected anyone to fight for him. Rin tugged Jace's sleeve. "Don't go," the child whispered. Lyra touched Jace's arm gently, but her grip was strong. "You are not leaving. Not now, not ever. This home is yours." Outside, the sun burned through the dusty sky. Shadows moved near the village entrance, unfriendly figures gathering again. Trouble was returning, and Lyra knew one thing clearly: if the village wanted the human gone, they would have to go through her first. Jace slept for only a few hours that night, waking again to the soft sound of tiny feet. When he opened his eyes, he saw Rin sitting cross-legged beside his bed, holding a small wooden cube. The child's big blue eyes stared at him with a mixture of curiosity and admiration. "You still hurt?" Rin whispered. "Jac." He gave a small nod. "A little." Rin scooted closer and placed the wooden cube in Jace's hand. "Mama carved it for me when I was little. It helps when I'm scared. You can borrow it." Jace stared at the cube, surprised. It was small, smooth, and clearly precious. He tried to give it back. "I can't take this." Rin pushed it toward him again stubbornly. "You protected me, so it's yours for now." Before Jace could protest again, Lyra entered the room carrying a warm bowl of broth. She stopped when she saw Rin pressing the cube into Jace's palm. Her expression softened. "He never shares that toy with anyone," she said quietly. Rin puffed out his cheeks. "Jace is not anyone. He saved me." Jace felt warmth rise in his chest, something gentle, unfamiliar. He hadn't expected to grow close to this child. He hadn't expected anything from this place. But now, with Rin sitting beside him, holding his hand without fear, Jace felt something he didn't recognize at first. Family. As the morning light entered through the window, Jace slowly pushed himself to sit up. His muscles screamed in protest, but Lyra was already there, supporting his back with steady hands. "You should rest more," she said. "I need to move," Jace replied. "If I stay in bed all day, I'll grow weak." Lyra sighed but helped him stand. Rin held his other hand like a loyal guard. Together they guided him outside to breathe the fresh air. The village was quiet, but not peacefully so. Aliens watched from a distance. Some whispered. Some glared. Some looked guilty for their silence the previous day. Lyra ignored every pair of eyes, but Jace noticed something odd. Every few minutes, a shadow flickered at the far end of the street. Someone stepped behind a building, watching them. Someone else ducked behind market stalls, The thugs were still around. They were waiting. Jace felt a shiver crawl down his spine, but Rin squeezed his hand. "Don't be scared," the child said. "I'm with you." Jace smiled. "Shouldn't I be the one telling you that?" Rin grinned widely. Lyra led them to a small patch of open ground behind the house. It was quiet and hidden from most of the village. "Sit here," she said. "The sun is good for healing." Jace lowered himself carefully and leaned against a rock. Rin sat right beside him, swinging his legs. After a moment of silence, the child asked, "Can I ask something?" "Of course," Jace replied. "Why did you save me?" "You didn't even know me." Jace looked at the sky. The memory of the attack replayed in his mind. "Because you were alone. Because you were scared. And because no one else stepped forward." Rin nodded slowly. "But you got hurt." Jace smiled. "That doesn't matter." Rin's small hand touched Jace's side gently. "Mama says only brave people do things, even when they're scared." Jace didn't answer. He didn't know what he was, brave or foolish. But the child's admiration felt heavy in the best way. Lyra stood a few feet away, watching them. Her eyes softened. She saw the bond forming between her son and the human. A bond deeper than words. And she realized something powerful. Rin didn't just see Jace as a savior. He saw him as family. Later that afternoon, Lyra needed water from the well. Jace insisted on helping. She frowned. "You can barely walk." "I can stand," he said. "And I want to be useful." Rin cheered. Teamwork. So the three of them walked to the well. Villagers whispered again. Some even pulled their children closer. But Rin released Jace's hand only to run ahead, laughing. "Hurry, Jace." "Slow human." Jace chuckled, feeling the weight of the village's glares slowly fade behind the sound of the child's joy. At the well, Lyra began pulling up the bucket, but her eyes stayed sharp, scanning the area. Jace noticed. "You're worried," he said. She didn't deny it. "They are watching us. The thugs. They won't leave until they get revenge." Jace's jaw tightened. "Then I should go." Lyra turned instantly, her eyes fierce. "No, if you leave now, they will attack you alone." And her voice softened. "And my child will break." Jace looked at Rin, who was in the middle of a game pretending to battle imaginary monsters with a stick. A warm ache spread in Jace's chest. "I don't want to hurt him," Jace whispered. "Then stay," Lyra said. "Stay where you are protected." Jace didn't respond, but he didn't argue either. That evening, as the sun dipped behind the dunes, Jace stepped outside alone. The air was cool and quiet. He looked around and saw Rin sleeping inside, clutching the wooden cube he had given Jace earlier. Lyra was sitting beside the bed, stroking her child's hair. For the first time in years, Jace felt wanted, but before he could take in that strange warmth, a soft crunch of sand sounded behind him. He froze. 3 figures stood at the edge of the street, thugs half hidden in shadow, watching him. Waiting. Jace felt his heart pound inside the house. Lyra looked up suddenly, sensing something wrong. The danger was getting closer. The next attack was coming soon, and this time, they weren't after the child. They were after the human who had embarrassed them. The night fell slowly over the village. Soft blue lights glowed from clay lanterns, and quiet winds moved across the sand like whispering spirits. Inside Lyra's home, the world felt calm. Rin slept peacefully, curled against a soft blanket, and Lyra sat beside him, humming an old lullaby. But outside, danger was already gathering in the shadows. Jace stood near the doorway, staring into the dark street. Something about the air felt wrong. Too still. Too heavy. Like the silence before a storm. His body still hurt from yesterday's beating, but his instincts were sharper than ever. He had survived many dangerous places in his life. He knew when eyes were watching him, and tonight, he felt more than one pair. He took a slow step back inside. Lyra looked up immediately, her voice low. "What's wrong?" "There are people outside," he whispered. "Not villagers. The same thugs." Lyra's face hardened like stone. She stood quickly, adjusting the small dagger hidden under her clothing. "I knew they would return," she said. "They want revenge. And they want you." Jace shook his head. "I won't let them hurt you too. I'll draw them away." "No," Lyra said sharply, grabbing his wrist. "They want a fight. If you go alone, they will kill you. And they will come back anyway." Jace swallowed hard. He hated that she was right. These thugs didn't just want him dead. They wanted control, fear, and power. And they didn't forgive humiliation. Lyra moved to the door and peeked outside. 3 figures stood at the far edge of the street, whispering to each other. One pointed toward her house. Another kicked at the dirt impatiently. She recognized them immediately, the gang members, who had almost taken her child. They weren't leaving. "They're planning something," she whispered. Jace stepped forward. "Then we need a plan too." Rin woke from sleep when he heard the quiet tension in their voices. He rubbed his eyes and walked to Jace, holding onto his shirt. "They're back?" the child asked softly. Jace knelt and gently placed a hand on his shoulder. "Yes, but you're safe here." Rin looked up, scared but brave. "Are you safe?" Jace didn't answer. He couldn't lie. Lyra knelt behind Rin and pulled him close. "We stay together," she said firmly. "No one gets taken from this home again." The child nodded and stayed close to both of them. Minutes passed. Then footsteps echoed loud, confident, getting closer. Lyra blew out the small lantern, leaving the room in soft darkness. Jace's heartbeat thudded in his ears. The thugs were not hiding anymore. They were walking straight toward the house. A voice shouted outside, "Human! Come out, we didn't finish what we started." Jace clenched his jaw. Lyra's hands shook with anger. Rin whimpered quietly. Another voice added, "You embarrassed us. You think you can hide behind an alien woman? Come out and face us." Lyra stepped forward, her anger burning brighter than her fear. But Jace placed a hand on her arm. "Let me handle this." "No," she whispered fiercely. "I lost my husband years ago. I won't lose you too." Jace froze. She considered him family now. Maybe more than that. Before he could respond, the wooden door rattled under a strong kick. Dust fell from the ceiling. Jace squared his shoulders and breathed deeply. He was in no condition to fight, but he had to. If he didn't, the thugs would hurt Lyra and Rin. He stepped forward to open the door. But Lyra quickly moved in front of him. "You stay behind me," she ordered. Jace blinked. "Lyra, I'm not letting them hurt you again." Her voice shook with protective fury. Something he had only seen from her once before, when she shielded him. In the market, the door slammed open with a violent crack. 3 thugs stepped into the house, tall shadows swallowing the dim light. Their leader grinned cruelly. "Look at this. The human hiding behind a woman again." But Lyra stepped forward boldly, blocking their view of Jace. "If you touch him," she said, "I will show you what a real warrior looks like." The thugs laughed, not taking her seriously. Then Lyra's hand moved fast. She drew the dagger from her waist so quickly that the leader didn't see the blade until it pressed against his throat. His smirk vanished instantly. Jace froze in shock. Rin gasped. The other thugs stepped back, unsure how to react. Lyra's voice was ice. "This human saved my child. He saved my life. I will die before I let you harm him." No one laughed now. The leader swallowed, eyes shaking. She pushed the blade harder. "Leave now." For a long moment, no one moved. Then the leader slowly raised his hands. "Fine," he muttered. "But this isn't over." The thugs backed out of the house, whispering threats as they disappeared into the shadows. Lyra shut the door and locked it. Her hands trembled, but her eyes stayed fierce. Jace stepped closer. "You didn't have to do that." "Yes," she whispered. "I did." Rin hugged them both. "Don't leave," the child said. "Both of you stay." For the first time, Jace realized something terrifying and beautiful. He wasn't protecting them anymore. They were protecting him, and the bond between them had become something the whole village and the thugs could no longer ignore. The next morning arrived heavy with tension. Even though the sun rose bright over the dunes, the village felt cold. Doors stayed half closed. Curtains moved slightly as eyes peeked from inside homes. Everyone knew what had happened in Lyra's house last night. Everyone knew the thugs had left with anger burning in their eyes. And everyone feared what would come next. Inside Lyra's home, Jace sat on the edge of the bed, testing his injured ribs. His body ached with every movement, but something had changed inside him. He no longer felt like a visitor. He felt responsible. For Lyra, for Rin, for the small home that had taken him in. Lyra prepared tea at the table, her movements silent but tense. Rin sat close to Jace, leaning against him like a loyal cub. The child whispered, "They'll come again." Jace nodded slowly. "Yes, and this time they won't leave without a fight." Lyra set the cups down and looked directly at Jace. "You are not fighting alone." Jace opened his mouth to argue, but the determination in her eyes stopped him. She wasn't just protecting him out of gratitude anymore. She was protecting him because he mattered to her, because he had become part of her family. Jace felt his chest tighten at the thought. Suddenly, a loud horn blasted across the village. All three of them jumped. Rin grabbed Jace's arm. Lyra rushed to the door, her face pale. Jace forced himself up and followed her outside. What they saw froze them. At least a dozen armed thugs marched toward the village center. Their leader walked in front, his armor shining under the sun, his face twisted with rage. Behind him, more men carried weapons, metal rods, shock staffs, and chains. The villagers gathered in silence, shaking, whispering. The council elders stepped forward nervously, trying to talk, but the leader shoved one aside. "We asked nicely," he shouted. "Now we take what we want." His eyes locked on Jace. "And today, human, you die." Jace stepped forward, even though every bone in his body begged him not to. "Leave these people out of it. This is between you and me." The leader grinned. "Oh, we're not here for the village." His gaze shifted to Rin hiding behind Lyra. "We want what we came for." "The child." Lyra snarled, something wild and powerful rising in her voice. "You will not touch my son." The leader raised his arm. "Get them." The thugs surged forward. The villagers scattered, running into their homes. But Lyra didn't move. She stood tall, pulling Rin behind her. Jace stepped beside her, despite his pain. "This is madness," he whispered. Lyra shook her head. "No, this is justice." The first thug charged at Jace with a shock staff. Jace ducked, barely avoiding the electric swing. Pain shot through his ribs, but he countered with a punch to the thug's stomach. The thug staggered back. Another enemy came at Lyra, swinging a chain. She moved like lightning, ducking low, kicking his knee sideways, and slamming her elbow into his jaw. He fell instantly. Jace stared for a second, shocked. "You fight like a warrior," he breathed. "I am one," she replied. Wiping sweat from her brow, eyes blazing, Rin watched from behind a barrel. Trembling but trusting his mother and Jace, 3 more thugs rushed Jace at once. He blocked one hit with his arm, was struck on the shoulder by another, and barely managed to kick the third away. His wounds screamed in pain, but he refused to fall. Lyra fought like a storm, fast, fierce, unstoppable. Every movement was sharp. Every strike was calculated. She wasn't just fighting for her life. She was fighting for her family. One thug tried sneaking toward Rin. Jace saw him and roared, throwing himself in the thug's path. Their bodies collided, and Jace slammed the thug to the ground before he could reach the child. The leader grew angrier. "You think you can protect them? You're weak, human." Jace stood tall, breathing hard. "Weak doesn't save children." Lyra stepped beside him. "And cowards don't lead armies." The leader snarled and rushed at them himself. Their battle was fierce. The leader was strong, but Jace fought with a purpose he had never felt before. Lyra fought beside him, matching his rhythm like they had trained together for years. Blow after blow, they drove the leader back. Finally, Lyra caught the leader's arm and twisted it sharply. Jace used the moment to strike, knocking the leader to the ground. Silence fell. The thugs hesitated, watching their leader panting in the dust. Lyra stepped forward, blade in hand. "This village is under our protection. If you ever return, you will not leave alive." The thugs looked at their fallen leader, then turned and ran. The battle was over. Slowly, villagers stepped out of their homes, eyes wide, mouths open. They had expected death. Instead, they found hope. Two figures stood at the center of the village. A human wounded, but unbroken. And an alien mother, strong, fearless, and loyal. Together, they had protected the village. Together, they had changed everything. Lyra looked at Jace, breathless. "You didn't have to fight like that." Jace smiled weakly. "I did, because you and Rin matter to me." Her eyes softened. Something warm flickered between them. And for the first time, the village didn't see a human and an alien. They saw a family. The battle left the village stunned. Dust floated gently in the air like drifting snowflakes. The ground still carried footprints from the fight. Weapons lay scattered. Lanterns flickered. A heavy silence hung over everything, as if the entire village was holding its breath. Jace stood at the center of it all, breathing hard. His wounds burned, his ribs felt like fire, and his legs shook under him. He had pushed far beyond his strength. The world around him blurred for a moment. Lyra rushed to his side instantly. She touched his arm gently, her voice trembling. "Sit down, please, you're hurt." But Jace stepped back. He didn't want to collapse in front of her again. He didn't want to be the weak one. "I'm okay," he whispered, even though it was clearly a lie. Rin ran to him and wrapped his arms around Jace's waist. "Don't fall," the child whispered. "You can rest now." Jace managed a smile, placing a hand on Rin's head. "I'm all right, little one." But Lyra's eyes saw through his words. She always did. Villagers slowly gathered around. For the first time, there were no glares, no whispers, no fear. Some nodded at Jace. Some bowed their heads in respect. An elder who had once spoken against him stepped forward and said quietly, "You saved us." Jace lowered his eyes humbly, unsure what to say. He wasn't used to appreciation. His entire life had been filled with avoidance, mistrust, and loneliness. But now, an entire village stood silently, watching him not as an outsider, but as a protector. Even so, Jace felt something tightening in his chest. He didn't belong here. Not really. He had brought danger. The thugs would return someday. He didn't want Lyra and Rin to live with that risk. Decision forming in his heart, he turned toward Lyra. "I should go," he said softly. The moment those words left his mouth, Lyra froze. "Go? Leave? After everything?" Her voice broke. "Why?" Jace looked at the ground. "I don't want to cause more trouble. Those thugs came for me. If I stay, more danger will come." Lyra stepped closer. "So you leave? To protect us?" He nodded. "Yes." Rin grabbed his leg tightly, shaking his head violently. No, don't go. Don't leave us. Jace knelt painfully and held the child close. I'll always protect you, he whispered. But if I stay, things will get worse. I can't put your mother at risk. Lyra's breath caught. She looked away, her eyes shining with emotion she tried to hide. Then she spoke quietly but firmly. You didn't put us at risk. You saved us. Jace shook his head. Lyra. They came because of me. They came because they are evil, she snapped. Not because of you. Her anger surprised even herself. She took a deep breath and stepped closer, her voice shaking. You think leaving will make us safe? You think going out alone is safer for you? They will hunt you. They will kill you, and... Her voice cracked painfully. And Rin will break. Rin pressed his face into Jace's chest. Please don't leave, please. Jace's heart tightened painfully. He felt Lyra's gaze on him, soft, pleading, full of something deeper than gratitude. But he still whispered, I don't belong here. Lyra stepped forward until she was standing right in front of him. Her trembling hand reached out, and she gently lifted his chin, forcing him to look at her. You belong, she whispered. Where you are cared for. Jace's eyes widened. You belong, she said again. Her voice growing stronger, where someone fights for you. Not against you. She took a shaking breath. You belong with us. Her words hit him harder than any weapon ever had. The village watched silently. No one dared interrupt this moment. Jace stood slowly, still unsure. Lyra, I don't want to cause you pain. You already healed it, she replied softly. He blinked. Confused, she stepped even closer, her voice breaking like a quiet storm. I lost my husband years ago. I lost hope after that. I lived only for Rin, but when you stood in front of my child and took the blows meant for him, you brought my hope back. Jace felt his throat tighten. You protected my son, she whispered. You protected our home. And then you fought an entire gang beside me. Her voice dropped to a trembling whisper. How can you think you don't belong here? Jace didn't know how to answer. His life had been filled with rejection. No one had ever wanted him to stay, but here. An alien mother was begging him not to leave. Rin tugged his sleeve again. Stay with us, please. Jace looked around. At the villagers. At the dusty streets. At Lyra and Rin, the only two who had ever treated him like family, and something inside him finally broke. He exhaled softly. If I stay as long as you want me. Lyra's eyes softened into relief, gratitude, and something deeper. She stepped forward and placed her hand gently on his chest. I want you to stay, she whispered. Today, tomorrow, and every day after. Rin cheered and hugged him tightly. The villagers exhaled in relief. The danger wasn't gone, but something stronger had replaced the fear. Unity, respect, family. And as Jace wrapped his arms around Lyra and Rin, one thought entered his mind for the very first time. He finally found a home.